Georgie, we're back. Immediately following the Liverpool versus Manchester City game, I know you are one happy man right now. How are you feeling?
I know, just a happy guy. I'm just a chill guy. I'm just a chill guy that's a Liverpool fan. No big deal. Just a chill guy, man.
I was wrong in my prediction. I said that there was going to be. I told you before the game. I was like, it's either going to be a really high scoring game, or it's going to be a really boring game. Um, it was really, to be fair, even saying this as an Arsenal fan, it was really all Liverpool. Manchester City had a couple moments, but for the most part, I mean, it was all you guys, and you guys missed a lot of chances that could have made the game 3-0, 4-0. And not that Manchester City didn't have any chances, but you guys clearly looked like the better team.
Yeah, I mean, look, personally, like, so before the game started and when I saw the lineup, because everybody leaks the lineups these days, when I saw the lineup, I was like, man, Slat, really? You're really going to leave Darwin out the lineup just because what I thought would happen is Man City played their usual style, you know, have a lot of possession, attack teams. We've never watched Pep more kind of sit back and let other team have the ball. But they've always kind of like not high pressed, but they didn't sit back. And so that's what I expected, just City to come out and just play their regular way. So when Slot didn't have Darwin in the lineup, because I think Darwin is crucial in those transition moments where if a team has a lot of possession, and Liverpool, he's the one that sprints and the running behind. So you have the opportunity in that open man to make the field big and get those chances behind on the counter. And when I saw that, I was like, man, I don't know about this. Slot got it absolutely spot on. Like somehow he knew from I don't know how or he expected that because in the pre-game conference in the interview he was asked, "What do you think about Pep with his lineup?" And he's like, "I think we're about to see something different from Pep. For the first time, we're going to see something different because the guy always changes things. But I think this is the first time we're going to see him change his like style of play." And I was like, "Dude, there's no way. This is Pep Guardiola. He's not going to change his way. Like they know one way of playing. Like City are not one of those teams where you just." But I guess it makes sense because he put in a lot more defensive-minded players instead of more like Doku or Grealish, where they just stay out wide and like wait for the ball. He had a midfielder, Nunes, played out wide, or at least that's what it was. And then who else did he have? He had Gundogan trying to make those runs, but kind of more central, trying to like close up the gaps in the midfield. So when Salah had the false nine, and it worked perfectly with Diaz coming in, dropping in, Gakpo dropping in at times, and kind of moving and shifting around the City defense and just midfield at all. I thought we were absolutely brilliant. And then in the second half, as soon as Doku and Grealish came on, City went back to the usual way. And that's when they started having a little bit more chances, a little bit more of the ball. And that's when I thought I was like, okay, this is it. Like he needs to take Diaz or Gakpo out and put Darwin in because we just can't contain this because we have no outlet. City are just gonna keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. So once he did that, I thought it was I thought tactically he was spot on every single aspect throughout the whole entire game from start to finish. And yeah, and I even tweeted this. People were like, Manchester City, they're coming back into it. Well, of course, it's Manchester City, right? Like they're still a good team. I know one of the best teams in the world in terms of like what they've done, the best coach ever, manager ever, potentially to, in charge. So they're always going to have 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of where they're going to keep the ball, get some opportunities, get inside the box and cause trouble. So it's part of the game. It's how you counter it. And which I think, again, Sly got it spot on with the changes he made. It's how you counter it and you take away that their attacking options by you putting in an actual nine and you putting in players that are willing to make those runs in behind to take off the pressure for your team. So it could have been more. It could have been less. The Van Dijk mistake that he made, Kelleher saved us. That right there, I think, was very crucial because 2-0, 10 minutes to go, Man City score a goal. You don't know how the game's going to turn. The crowd is going to feel a little bit, uncertain. The players are going to get that confidence from Manchester City. So overall, really good game. Really happy for Liverpool. But as I say, it is just 3 points. I
Well, it's a
know
lot more than that.
now. Look, I just watched Van Dijk's interview. He's thinking the same way. He was asked, "Are you thinking about
Sure.
anything more?" He's like, "No, This is we just it's December 1st. Well, nobody's thinking about a title. Nobody's thinking about anything. It's just three
Yeah, but what
points.
else is he gonna say? What do you expect him to be like? Oh
Well,
yeah,
of course.
as soon as they go into the locker room, as soon as he goes into the locker room, he's like, "Come on, boys,
Well, of
this is
course.
us now. This is all us now." So they know that it's at this point now it's your title to lose. It's no longer like who can edge each other out as far as like who can get a few more points towards the end of the season. Now it's really just as long as Liverpool don't bottle it, you guys should win. And by the way that you guys have been playing so consistently, it's your title. It's your title to lose. Um, it, but that's on you. You know, I don't think anything that Manchester City or Arsenal can do is going to make a big difference unless Liverpool completely bottle it after the Christmas break. Um, One thing that I was really interested in was I saw again. I can't remember which one it was. This was one of the last two or three games for Manchester City where they gave up a goal when they were building out. Whoever it was pressured them, just stole the ball from them and scored a goal. And rarely have we seen Manchester City give up a goal in the build-up from losing possession of the ball. They're just so good at it. Most of the teams don't even press them. Most of the teams just drop off and let them have the ball. And the ones that do press them in the past just haven't been too successful as far as like being able to score a goal directly off of the press. They might regain possession, play the ball a little bit, and then they'll score set pieces. But I thought that was interesting because I was like, man, that really doesn't happen with Manchester City. The way that Liverpool were pressing today, I mean, you guys had all four of your front players right at the top of the 18 when Manchester City was building out. I mean, Diaz, Gakpo, Soboslai, and Salah, all of them were like almost in a flat four, ready to just go wherever they were playing the ball. I think it gave Liverpool, or it made it difficult for Manchester City to find the midfielders early, and then anytime it popped out wide to one of the center backs, like anytime it popped out wide to like Ake, for example, out wide, it was just so they didn't have any space because all four of your players were pressing. And then I'm surprised though that Manchester City. I know it's a tough matchup, but I'm surprised that they didn't go longer a little bit more than they did.
They
I think
tried to,
they're
right? In the second half where they went like 2, 3 times with Haaland.
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do that earlier in the game when the press was so high. You know, like towards the end of the game, like that's when you can start building out a little bit more. That's when you can start breaking lines a little bit more because the press isn't as organized. But at the beginning of the game, I'm like, look, if I'm Pep and I see four players just ready to press us every time we get the ball, I'm going to hit it in long into Holland, and then I'm just going to make sure all of my midfielders win that second ball when it pops out. So that was surprising. I think Liverpool, obviously, the confidence that they had of going in there and saying like we're going to just press the crap out of Manchester City, especially because they're not going through the best moment right now. I think that made a big difference. I was looking at the stats after the game because I was curious to see. I'm not a big stats guy as far as like the expected goals because I think that's not always like the most. It's not always like the most accurate. But the expected goals were 3.35 for Liverpool and 0.82 for Manchester City, which if you look at those stats, honestly, that's a pretty accurate description of the game as far as what could have happened. Um, how do you feel? Because I'm asking you this. There was a moment in the game where I believe you guys were up 1-0. Salah and Soboslai are in behind, and Salah goes for the shot. Now, if you look at the replay, it looks like right before he takes the shot, that would have been a little bit too late to pass the ball to Soboslai because Manchester City had finally recovered. But I wonder if maybe just a step earlier, he just slots that ball to Soboslai and Soboslai taps it in.
Yeah, man, it's tough because Salah going one-on-one against the keeper. I don't think that guy's passing the ball ever, ever. And look, fair play. And I posted this. I said, and a lot of people came at me. I was like, man, that should have been 2-0. Salah unlucky because look, he should do better, right? Like that at least test the keeper, and that's what we always say. The least you can do is test the keeper in that situation. But the reason why I say unlucky is because usually when Salah gets in those positions, he usually does a lot better. So it's one of those things where, like, look, right now we're talking about it because we won 2-0. If we would have tied 1-1, people are gonna go back like, oh, Salah out, Salah this, Salah that. Like that's just the nature and the life we're
That's what I
in.
was worried about. I was worried that after he missed that, I was like, oh, if Manchester City get a chance here, people are going to remember that
Yep.
specific play right there. However, I did think Salah was your most dangerous player. He's a bit selfish at times, but there's times where like there was one where he's dribbling against three Manchester City players, and there's really no real option for him to play, and he just ends up dribbling until he finally gets a shot off, which wasn't far off. Um, Anytime he gets the ball with confidence and he's dribbling at players, it's going to be so hard to stop. He's going to be able to get you something. Um, he did redeem himself from the missed penalty that he had the other day, so he finally scored that penalty. I wonder what was going through Arne Slot's head when Salah was ready to take it.
You think if he misses, Slot is like, all right, done.
You kind of have to, right? Like it's one thing. It's one thing to take a player away when they miss a penalty. Like if you miss your first penalty in a while, like it's you can't really take him off. You have to give him the chance to redeem himself. In the second one, if he doesn't redeem himself, then it's almost up to the player to be like, look, I'm not in the best form right now with penalties. Let's give it to somebody else for the next one or two, just see how it goes. And then when I feel better, I'll step back in. But it was a good penalty.
No, it was really good. And
So
again, a big call from Pep to bench Ederson. And he was asked about it before the game. He's like, is there a reason why? He's like, just rust. You don't, it's not just rust, Pep. Like, we're not stupid. It's not just rust. Let's be
sure,
honest.
it's
So
not it's not just rest, but it is it makes it better that he benched him when they're playing so many games, because it's like, look, I have to change something. We haven't won in now, what is that, 6 games now, or
I
is it
think it's
6 or 7?
7.
Now it's 7 games that they haven't won. They've lost in 6 of those 7 games. I believe they've only drawn once in those 7 games. So he's got to change something. And unfortunately, that means that somebody's going to have to be a little bit of the scapegoat, right? Like he's going to have to go to somebody and be like, we're not winning. You're going to be out. You're going to be out. You're going to be out. Whether, even if it's a whole team effort, you can't take the whole team out. You have to pick someone where you feel like that player needs to change. As a backup goalkeeper who's been doing well anytime you've been called upon, for you to see that your team has lost 6 in a row, of course you're going to be like, well, I should be in goal, because if I'm in goal, maybe that changes things a little bit. To be fair, I thought Ortega did very well. I mean, he made some really good saves. He can't do anything about the penalty. Can't do anything really about the first goal. It gets crossed. Kyle Walker loses Cody Gakpo on the run. I thought Ortega had a good game. I don't think. I really don't think Ederson would have had a worse game than Ortega. I think it's like at this point, it's kind of the same. They wouldn't have been involved. But I think Pep's just being fair, and he's got to spark something underneath the players a little bit, because it's like, hey, if we're losing this many games, like this shit's not okay, and I don't want you guys to get used to it. So even if you were the undoubted starter for the last however many years, like 6 games, boom, you're on the bench. We need to pick somebody. We need to find somebody else. Which I think if they still had Julian Alvarez, he would have been playing over Erling Haaland in this match. Like that would have been another player that he would have benched.
The guy cost me 15 million on my fantasy team to be sitting there doing absolutely nothing. I
Yeah,
still have him because I know as soon as I take him out, I'm
he'll score a
gonna
hat trick.
I'm gonna jinx the whole world, the whole universe. Everybody counts on me to keep him on my team now. So he's staying there forever. He's not scoring another goal all year.
Yeah,
But I will say, like I said earlier, I think Pep got it wrong tactically in the first half, and I think Pep got it wrong personnel wise as well. I don't think. Look, if you like, I understand the Ederson situation, like in terms of you want to spark something. If you really want to spark something, you take Kyle Walker out. That guy has been awful this season. The whole entire this stretch of games, he has been awful. The game against Spurs when they lost 4-0, he got absolutely destroyed. Timo Werner comes off the bench, takes him out one-on-one, goes past him, crosses, they score. Kyle Walker should be the one that's being the scapegoat. If you're gonna find somebody to blame, it should be him. I know he's took
sure.
out Guardiola as well, and Guardiola's been having a nightmare. And I know everybody, the first 6 months when Guardiola first came to the Premier League, flop, worst signing ever. Then he scores 3 goals. It doesn't work that way. So like, there's just so many things that go
Yeah,
into it. And again, I think that tactically he got it wrong. I don't think you go. It seemed very timid. You go into a big game against a rival, a very very timid way of playing. You don't play your style. You try to change it up. You try to go more defensive, more stable, I guess, and it completely backfired. I think if City start the game how they started into the second half, I don't know if it would be a different game, but I think they would have felt a lot better going into halftime than how they felt. Because
sure.
it just gives Liverpool more confidence. You give them the ball, you give them the possession, you give them the opportunities. It's one point, one of them is going to go in.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pep needs to change something, man. It's the first time he's ever been in this position in his managerial career. First ever time. He needs to change something.
Did you see him doing this?
No.
You didn't
Is
see
that what he
it?
did? No. Is that what he
You,
did?
you didn't see? You didn't? Did
I
you hear
didn't
the
see that
Liverpool
part.
fans?
No. Did he do that
Oh,
at the Liverpool fans?
oh man! During the
I
game, I
gotta go
don't know
watch it
what
afterwards.
it was like 84th minute. Getting sacked in the morning, getting sacked. The whole stadium, and then he just laughs and looking around, and he's like six,
Yeah.
six.
It's crazy. And four of them in a row.
Yeah.
That's
People forget. People forget. It's just, I mean, obviously the Liverpool fans are doing it just
sure.
because, like, whatever.
Yeah,
But
they gotta take advantage.
they're actually City fans right now. I guarantee if we go on Twitter, they're gonna be saying, "I think it's time we let Pep go. It's not working. He can't get through a player." I guarantee there's somebody like that right now
Sure.
talking about it.
Yeah, of course. That's how they all are. But most of those guys are they're not real. They're just idiots. They're just idiots
Yeah,
who are just
just trolls.
just yeah, just trolls, just waiting for any moment to get to talk shit about anybody. I agree with you, Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's been having a nightmare, which is I don't blame him. Like the dude, how long has he been? He's been probably one of the few, if not the longest player at Manchester City since Pep took over, if I'm not mistaken. Like people have come in, people have left and come back, and Kyle Walker has been there throughout the entire time. So at some point, if his biggest attribute is his speed, the moment his speed starts going a little bit and he starts getting older, he's losing foot races to some of these players. Mentally, he's also going to lose a little bit of confidence. He's going to be like, "Damn, I'm not as quick as I thought I was, or I'm not as good of a defender as I thought I was." And now he's going to start questioning himself a little bit. And I think he's also one of those players that because he's always just been so fast, he's able to essentially make mistakes and recover from those mistakes because of his speed. Like I've coached a lot of players like that, where like they can get out of position and they can kind of like take bigger risks than other players because they know even if they get beat, they'll still be able to catch up to the other players.
Yeah,
So
like
now
me.
I think, yeah, sure, yeah, like no, you're the player that causes the mistake of the defender who can catch you.
I'm Kyle Walker now.
Yeah, honestly. But it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Walker is benched for the next match. I feel like you at this point you kind of have to take him off if you're Pep. So let me just finish with asking you this question here. I know you keep saying this. It's too early. It's too early. It's too early. You're 11 points from ahead of Manchester City, which is a team that you thought you'd be fighting the like tooth and nail for the title. They're in fifth place. They are technically right now out of the Champions League spots. We know Manchester City is going to finish in the top four. It's just once they get their shit together, right?
It's as soon as January comes and they spend 200 million real quick. Yeah.
And then you're 9 points ahead of Arsenal, who Arsenal has been actually not terrible. Liverpool's just been fantastic in the first 13 matches of the season. At which point do you admit, and I know you don't want to jinx it, but at which point do you admit that it's your title to lose and you should win the Premier League this season unless something completely goes wrong?
I would say I'd here. When I look at a title, I look at mid-January to end of January because that's when you're like right now you have literally the next game is Wednesday. So the games are coming in like really like I think there's like 10 games in the span of 6 weeks for like most teams. So after that stretch, so mid-January, that's when I look at the table and I'm like, all right, let's see where we are. Because you literally play I don't know, essentially a third of your season within those 6, 7 weeks. So after that, then I'm gonna look at the table and be like, okay, or that's when I look at relegation battle. That's when I look at top four. That's when I look at everything. Because up until now, you win 2 games on a bounce, somebody draws and wins, you're back in it. Like we talk about Manchester United, they win 2 games in a row from 15th they were before the Ipswich game. They move up to who knows 5th place.
They're ninth now, too.
Yeah, so like 6 points is just crucial. Like at this point because not as many games, teams are still close. Aston Villa are just everywhere at this point because they have Champions League. It's coming like just not clicking for them. So it's gonna be difficult, especially now when you have. And I think it's very important for teams like Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. Can you get in the top 8 in the Champions League? Because if you can escape those 2 extra games, that's crucial. You're
Yeah.
getting essentially more time to prepare for matches and to get your players rested and to do all that. And I think again, we're gonna know that come mid-January, end of January. And I think that's when you start looking at, all right, if you're 10 to 15 points ahead at that point, then it's like, all right, you're in a title race, and this is where you really got to buckle up. But until then, it's just 3 points.
Don't want to jinx it. Don't want to jinx it. One game at a time. That's how
Well,
every Premier League winning team has won their Premier League, is by saying just one game at a time. Take it one game at a time. Don't look too far
is,
ahead, or
is the
you're
political
gonna bottle
answer.
it.
Is the
Yeah, of
political
course.
answer. Yeah, it's just
But they know deep down, like fuck, do not bottle it in the second half of the season. Do not fucking bottle it. Um, yeah, the only other thing is, which is crazy to me, is to think that after 13 games under Arne Slot, I don't want to say this in a disrespectful way, but the world has forgotten about Jurgen Klopp.
it's crazy, isn't it?
He's obviously he's an absolute legend. The amount of, I mean, you were almost crying when
I,
you
I,
made that video of Jurgen Klopp leaving. You're like, oh, what's gonna happen? Everyone was assuming, oh, this is just gonna be another rebuild. Like we're gonna have to kind of start over, have maybe not a great season, and then as long as we believe in Arne Slot, we'll be back to where we are. And it's been like, how can you top what Jurgen Klopp did for the fans, for the players, for Liverpool as a whole? And you've done that so far, right? So far in 13 games, you would have never thought, if anybody would have told you after 13 games you'd be 11 points ahead of Manchester City, 9 points ahead of second place, and you'd be in first place in the Premier League, you would have been like, absolutely no chance. Especially with the transfer window that you guys had in the summer, that you guys, I mean, were ranked last place by everyone who's ranking transfer window for the Premier League.
yeah, I mean, it's insane. And I was gonna actually bring that up. I remember when Manchester City brought back Gundogan, and they're like, everybody was like, "Wow, look at Manchester City. This is what champions do." They don't have players in the midfield. They're bringing in Gundogan. He's gonna, be there when if Rodri gets injured or if Rodri needs, some rest time, whatever. And now we're talking about Gundogan as if like people are like, wow, that's one of the worst signings this season. And I know he came for free, but he's been awful as well. Like
Yep.
he's not the Gundogan from 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whenever he was at City. Completely different player, and that's what a lot. It's not just about like the transfer window per se. It's like how the manager implements his style, how he takes on the players, where he sees the players playing. We can all sit here and be like, "Oh, Liverpool need this." I said Liverpool need a six. I would have liked a six, and I think we still do, just to give more rest to players. But at the moment, you're looking at it like Ryan Gravenberch. Who would have thought this guy would be the player that he is now? Like we always talked about, he's a good player, really good technically, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But under Klopp, he didn't fit his style, and now you're looking at a completely different style, maybe a fresh idea of a new manager. Boom, he's this guy. If you were looking at Ryan Gravenberch right now to come to Liverpool, you're looking at like 50, 60, 70 million player to bring him in January or in the summer. And now it's like, well, this guy came in for, I don't know, so cheap, like 30 mil, not even, from Bayern Munich. It just it's so easy to judge and be in the moment of a transfer window, and it's like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Manchester United won the transfer window. West Ham won the transfer window. Remember we were talking about in the podcast, West Ham signed all these amazing players, how they're going to do the season, blah blah blah, all this. One of the worst teams in the Premier League. It's sometimes it just clicks, and sometimes managers have different ideas, different views of players, and when they come in with their fresh ideas, it just works.
Yeah.
So
So impressive start for Liverpool under Arne Slot. Very confident, very just very sure of how they're playing, what they need to do, and just looking dangerous overall. They just look like a very very good team with some really good chemistry. So we'll see if they're able to hold on to it. We were in a position as Arsenal fans, 2 years ago specifically. I think it was when we were up like 8 or 9 points before Christmas, and then after that it just went straight downhill. So we'll see how it goes. But I do believe it's time, because I don't think much is going to change from now until the end of the year. So I think going into January we're going to be saying the same thing. It's Liverpool's title to lose at this point.
who
And
was your man of the
it'll be
match
kind of
today?
nice too, because um my man of the match. Hmm, I'm trying to think. I thought Van Dijk, besides the mistake, I thought he was always in the right positions. There was a lot of crosses that he just like he was able to head out. I thought he dealt really, really well with Holland. I think Van Dijk, he just plays so consistently that you know what you're going to get from him every single game. It's almost like every single game he can be man of the match just because how well he plays. Besides him, though, I thought Salah was probably your most dangerous player. Um, Besides the being selfish a little bit, you kind of want them to be selfish, but you wish that they knew exactly when not to be selfish and when to be selfish, and sometimes you just can't because, I mean, if he scores that goal where he doesn't pass it to Soboslai, you're praising him as like, wow, this guy's unbelievable, he's scoring goals left and right, he's so good. Um, but I thought he probably looked very really dangerous. I thought everybody else honestly played pretty well. I don't think you guys had a single player that looked bad. I mean, I thought Robertson got beat once or twice by was it by Doku when Doku came on or something like that. But for the most part, you guys had a solid performance from all your players.
There's two players. I gave my man of the match to Sobosai. The guy was the engine of the whole entire, especially the first half. The guy was absolutely everywhere, tackling, winning the balls, switching the field, getting people in the right positions. There was like, the Van Dijk post, Sobosai crossed the ball, brilliant cross. So I gave man of the match to him. But somebody else, man, Joe Gomez. It's crazy. It's crazy because it is so hard for a player not to be playing all season or not as much, not consistently, and to step in, have this type of a performance to where Konate been one of our best players so far this season, just amazing defensively, and not to even think about that Konate didn't play today and that Joe Gomez just stepped in, did his job, and did it amazing. No flaws, just brilliant, clean sheet. That is so hard to do. Like just mentally, physically, not to play games and come in such like environment, like one of the biggest games of the season, and just to perform that well is just something really. It just like speaks volumes of how professional he is, I guess, like of a player and as a person. Doesn't complain, doesn't go on social media like a lot of these people and like stirs things up when he's not playing. Just comes in, does his job, easy, like no
Yeah,
big deal.
and that's really good for you guys because you guys have always had depth issues with your roster where it's like if somebody goes down, you're like, crap, now we're putting in our youth academy. Now you guys have Joe Gomez who can step in for Konate and play really well. And I think actually Joe Gomez, if you would have told me that this he would be the type of player that he is today, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, man, this guy's. I didn't like him early on. I thought he was very suspect. I thought there was a lot of mistakes in his game. I think he's improved so much. And then you guys also have Kwanzaa, and Kwanzaa's now healthy. He's coming off the bench. So if anything happens, it's Kwanzaa can step in. So if you can essentially have another center back get injured, and then you'll have Kwanzaa step in as well. And I thought he played really, really well during like the preseason and then before Arne Slot just decided to go with Van Dijk and Konate before, when Konate was injured before and stuff. So that's good. That's good news for you guys defensively. Even though you do have a couple of injuries, and obviously with Connor Bradley being injured as well, that changes things a little bit, especially after the performance he put in against Real Madrid. But yeah, man, you guys have been solid. It's yours to lose.
Nah, just another game, man. Just another
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. At one point, you're gonna have to change that. At one point, you're gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna win the Premier League. Like, think about it.
Commit.
If you're going into the, let's say you're going into the last month and a half of the season, let's say the last 6 games with an 11-point lead over the second place. You're not
Then
gonna tell
yeah.
me that at that point you're gonna be like, yeah, like unless something crazy happens.
Well, yeah. Then I'll say yes, we're in the lead, but it's just we need 3 points. 3 points the next game.
Um, all right, but a good game, fun game to watch. We'll see what happens with Manchester City and how they bounce back. 'Cause at this point, at some point, they have to win a game, right?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
crazy to say. It's crazy to say that.
it's insane. Is Pep gonna get sacked or what? That's the
No
next?
chance.
No chance.
Absolutely no
He
chance.
can literally get relegated and they're not gonna sack him. There's just no
Yeah,
way.
because then
But
he'll bring them right back.
supposedly he did say if he believes he cannot turn it around, he's gonna leave on his own. But
I don't know. He also said that if they get relegated because of the charges or whatever, he'll be there in the championship to bring them back.
I would love to see that, to be honest. I would watch Man
Imagine,
City.
imagine being a championship team and seeing Pep Guardiola on the sideline coaching against you.
It's insane. But listen, we need to start having conversations about Holland. We really need to.
Calm down. He's still on my fantasy team.
Oh, I know.
We're not
I'm
there yet.
I'm
We're
keeping him
not there yet.
forever, just so he doesn't score ever again.
The
But
man's the leading goal scorer the last 2 years in a row.
I know, but this is what I mean. This was my argument all along about Holland, like at Manchester City. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't offer anything on the field besides a poacher type of a goal. Like
Sure. And that's the
it,
problem that he's going to run into when Manchester City's struggling in games where they don't have that many expected goals and they're not really doing the normal things that they do, which is dominate possession and get the balls into the box. Sure. But he's a cheat code when you do have the ball and when you are able to do all those things, because then you get the ball in the box and you know he's going to score every single time. So if they told me this is all that he brings, but as long as you have all the other players to provide him with him just being able to do what he does best, sure, we'll sacrifice all the other stuff.
do you think
Yes, we have to ask
do you,
questions.
do you think Pep is realizing selling Julian Alvarez was a mistake?
Yeah, but not necessarily a mistake, but you can't do anything about it. Julian Alvarez wanted to leave.
Yeah, he wanted
It
first team
wasn't
football.
it wasn't like Manchester City was like, yeah, we're not going to offer you a new contract, so instead we're just going to get whatever money we can get from you. He wanted to go. They were like, well, we're not going to tell you that you're going to start over Erling Haaland. So if that's the case, then you got to go. It's kind of similar to Cole Palmer. Although Cole Palmer, I think Pep even told him like, you're going to get more playing time this year, and he was just like, nah, I don't trust you. I'm out. Julian Alvarez, I think Pep just couldn't give it to him because he's like, look, if Haaland's healthy and I'm only playing with 1-9, you're on the bench.
Yeah,
But if
that's
he would have
tough.
known, this would have happened, sure, he would have been like, dude, I need you to stay. I need you to stay.
Yeah, because I feel like he definitely plays on plenty of positions. Like he can play in the 10, he can play on the
Yeah,
wing if you need him to.
he's
But
much more versatile.
yeah.
But all right, that's it for this one, guys. We'll see where the Premier League table takes us towards the end of December and towards the end of the year. But so far, it is Liverpool's title to lose.
And we have games all what in 2 days or tomorrow? No, not tomorrow. I don't think there's a game tomorrow. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Premier League is back, baby, full throttle. Games
Yep.
nonstop. No stupid international breaks, thank God.
Yeah. But we'll see how it goes. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.